Good evening, everybody. This is Devin with Homeschool House Calls, and I am in your group, and we are talking about having realistic expectations, which is like one of the craziest, heaviest topics. It's a hard one to do. But I made a post last week, and I promised that we would discuss that tonight. I had the other week, other Tuesday night scheduled already, so I couldn't bring this back up. But we're going to talk a little bit about realistic expectations, and maybe I want y'all to talk to me. Tell me what you think. I'll tell you, this is a hard subject because it's kind of subjective. Everybody has their own expectations. Let me see. Hey, Ola. I always know that's Joanna, even if she doesn't have her name. But anyway, so this is our subject tonight, realistic expectations. And we're just going to dive in and y'all let me know what y'all think because this is a conversation between the two of us. And if you don't post, I don't know what you're thinking. So, anyway, so let's see. So, when we were having this conversation in the group about having realistic expectations, I want to start with saying that we having realistic expectations does not mean you're lowering your expectations. What we're talking about, see, I knew it was Joanna, but it doesn't mean we're lowering our expectations. That is not what we mean at all. It means we are looking at the situation realistically in our homeschool and not, I'm jumping ahead of myself. But anyway, so one thing I want you to do is to give yourself grace that we are all learning. When you become a homeschool mom, most of us, maybe not all of us, but most of us were not trained to be teachers. I'm not even always sure. Don't get mad at me if you're a teacher. Okay, don't get mad at me. But I think sometimes even teachers are not trained to teach. They have a lot thrown at them when they're in. I mean, I remember when I was in college and I was becoming, studying to be a social worker. I wasn't really taught to be a social worker. You get lots of stuff thrown at you, but I think like sometimes when you're trained as a teacher, sometimes you have a little bit more handle on teaching than someone who's not trained. And we, homeschool mamas, we dive in full feet, all parts of us trying to teach our children, and it is a natural thing God gave us but we have still have to learn. I mean, we hit our bumps. Let's see. Hello, happy Tuesday. It's good to be together, isn't it? I love my Tuesday nights. So anyway, so that's two things I want you to remember is that having realistic expectations doesn't mean we're lowering our expectations and we're giving ourselves grace to learn because even like I can get into my routine and what's going on with my kids, but in a couple of years it changes again. So okay. So another thing to remember is to not compare yourself and your children to anyone else's homeschool. We're different. We're like, thumbprints. We all have a different, we're all made differently. But I feel like for me, when we were talking about it in the group, for me, I tend to look at things in social media and I will compare my homeschool to what I see and then you're feeling like you're not doing a good job and that's not always true. So those are some baselines to give yourself. Make sure you realize having when I say having realistic expectations, I don't mean you're lowering your expectations. We still want to have high expectations for ourselves and we have goals. We're moms, we have goals, we have plans, but that is not what I'm talking about. So remember, social media is only going to give you a small snapshot into somebody's life. It is a faulty yardstick. Blog post. I love my bloggers. I vlog, love them, but that's not always a good place to have a yardstick. So I say all that. What? Wait, it just didn't go there. So, what do we measure our homeschool, our life, our homeschool, our children? What are we using to measure? How do we know that we're being realistic in what we're doing? There's several places you can look to see. if what you want to accomplish is realistic. You can do assessment tests. You can look at the World Book typical course of study for your child's grade, age level. You can talk to a mentor or a veteran homeschool mom and see maybe what they, you can watch your friends, but be very careful. We want expectations to be tailored to us. You can, let's say you start homeschooling, and I'm just throwing things, everything. I've read tons of stuff on realistic expectations this week and having it with homeschooling. Sometimes it can be something where you see the homeschool mom blogger and you see the article where or the her blog post or her vlog, and you see that she has this nice quiet Charlotte Mason type homeschool, and that's what you want. And then you get into it and you find it's not so easy. Well, the thing is she probably didn't have an easy time either. You're just seeing a small snapshot. So we want to make sure we're realistic in what we want. So somebody throw me an idea. Y'all talk back to me. It makes it so much easier for me when people talk back with me. So the first thing is to do is to decide. You have to decide what you're going to measure your expectations by. See, I'm all over the place tonight. You have to, let's see. Okay, here's a good question. We'll put it up. So I struggle daily with feeling inadequate. We want our kids to succeed, and I tend to always question if what I'm doing is correct and if I'm setting them up for success. Blogs seriously cause me to feel like, and that's what I said. See, that's the thing with blogs. You're only seeing a small snapshot of what's going on in that area. You try to remind myself these people are just doing it for years, and that's the thing. You're only seeing one. Little, and you can come if you're in Mobile, you can come sit at my house, and I can tell you it takes time. And you've only been 3 months. It takes time to find what is good for you and what works. I can tell you, I have people say all the time, "Oh, your kids are so great. It's so calm at your house. This is so wonderful." Mama, when I started, my house was not calm. I had four littles, and I literally hopped around the table all day long. We would start in the morning. I would go from one child to the next child. There was no calm. There was no calm. And it's usually like you feel like you're fighting through, I don't know, like jelly or something, trying to fight through that hard plastic jelly stuff, like you're fighting through it, trying just to get stuff done. There were many days that science and history were thrown out the door. I had many days where I was on bed rest from being pregnant, and I didn't get any science. There were years that we had no science or history. Science and history was good if we got a documentary, and that didn't always happen. So, and guess what? I still have some in college. They still did great on their ACT. They might not have had a 30 or a 32, but they had above the national average. They are in college and they're doing great and they're succeeded. So the thing is you have to decide what your measure is for you. Oh, sorry, wrong thing. Banners. I'm going to banners. So you have to define what your goals are for yourself and your children. And you can't you can't make the blogger's goals your goal. You can't make my goals your goal. You have to decide for yourself, why are you homeschooling? That is something you have to define. For me, my goal was to raise happy, healthy children who love their God, love their family, contributed to society. That was my main goal. And when I look now, I accomplished that. It may not have looked like I wanted it to, but I accomplished that, at least with my first two. I have three more to go. I have two in college. So that's what you've got to do. You've got to define what's good for you. And that's going to be your true measuring stick is you define. I mean, I tell mamas all the time when I talk with them, write down what your goal is, your why for homeschooling, hang it up because that's your measuring stick. You're not going to measure off what I do or what somebody on a blog. I could name some. I know some. I know some of these people now. I admire them, and they're wonderful, wonderful people. But they had hard days too. And especially when you just started, you've got to give yourself some grace. So always, always, and it takes time to come up with a schedule. It takes time. I mean, I will say in your first year of homeschooling, when you think you need to give up, stop. It takes at least a year to work the bulk of your bugs out. And even then, there will be new bugs. Every time I've had somebody move from middle school to high school, there's been bumps. Every time I added a baby, there were bumps. Things happen. Things suddenly, you'll be going along, everything's great, and suddenly it's not. And then it's like you have to fine tune it. But that's how life is. Anything we do that's worth it is going to be hard. So that is the bulk of what I've got. I can post some articles I read this week in the comments when I get there later. But the main thing is make sure that you're using the measuring stick you use. If you want to think academics, World Book Typical Course of Study has a good scope and sequence that's like across the board. They went through lots of schools. If you need an assessment test, I can give you some of that. So be realistic. If you have a special needs child, you may want to make your own IEP and have realistic expectations, and you can't judge what you do by what somebody else does, because each child is unique, each family is unique, you're unique, and you're probably not doing as bad as you are. Very rarely have I ever met a homeschool family that I would have to say, whoa, we've got to fix something. Usually they're doing much better than what they think. Mamas are hard on themselves. Y'all, you are hard on yourselves. You have high expectations and huge amount of things you want to accomplish. And I'm not saying you can't accomplish them. You just have to make sure that you're realistic. I mean, it's not always realistic that you think the 4-year-old will read. That's not always realistic. Sometimes you're like me and he's almost 8. And you're sitting there going, oh my God, what have I done? What did I make a mistake to homeschool? Should I put him in school? What am I doing? Sometimes, and for him, that was realistic because he was so busy. And he did learn to read, and he is my biggest, still to this day, probably my biggest reader. The ones that struggled the most in my house are my biggest readers, and I don't know how that works, but it did. So sometimes it's not realistic to think like Gabriella. Gabriella had health issues, and when she should have started kindergarten, I did not start her because she was just beginning to become active. She had laid on the couch for most of her first couple of years, and so I did not want to curb that activity. And so we started kindergarten much later. She caught up. She's on schedule. She may do a 5-year high school. I'm not 100% sure. I have offered her that opportunity and let her decide for herself if that's what she wants to do. She is 15 and I'm letting her decide that. I had another one who could have graduated 2 years early, but she decided to not and to graduate on time. So it's like you have each child's unique, and you can't judge off other people because it may not be the right path. And that is my take on realistic expectations. Number one, it doesn't mean you're lowering your expectations. It just means you're being realistic and you're making those expectations apply to your family. Um, my expectations wouldn't work for your house and yours wouldn't work for mine. And we just have to work them through. So working on your expectations. Your first home, I'm giving you homework. Define why you're homeschooling. That is your first homework. Define why you're homeschooling. You can even make it a mission statement and then put it in a frame and put it up. Know your why, so that when you have those bad days or you think that you're failing, you can go look at your why and you can say, okay, have I accomplished what I want? because, for me, it's to have happy, healthy adults. Am I accomplishing that? Um, Look at what I want short term. Okay, we want to accomplish this math. Are we accomplishing it the way I want? Or it could be, okay, I want to have more fun in my homeschool. Pick one thing. Don't try to re revamp your whole homeschool. Add one element of fun. I mean, it's like, um, like you want to change their sleep schedule. You're going to do a little bit at a time, 15 minutes earlier, 15, waking them up, putting them in bed a little bit, 15 minutes earlier. You're going to do a little bit at a time, um, and not the whole shebang. Uh, you know, so if I can help you narrow down whether maybe you say, oh gosh, I still don't know if I'm being realistic or not, let me know, PM me. I'm happy to talk you through it. I can point you where to look to whatever your thing is. But overall, just know that I think you're doing a great job. I am for you. I'm believe in you, and let me know how I can help. Next week is Christmas week. I don't know what next week's subject will be. If you let me know what you want next subjects to be, we'll be together again on Tuesday. Let me know. We can talk about anything you want. I love talking on Tuesday. Tuesday's like my favorite day all week because we can talk about anything we want to. Um, I do plan really soon. I have been wanting to live stream Susan's record keeping because I had some questions about that and people wanted to know how it worked. I realized that I can't do it on StreamYard very well. It does not want to open that program and let y'all see it. I can do it in Zoom, so I may end up doing a Zoom and just letting people um, register for that and just doing it where we can talk and go through it. Um, StreamYard has some limits, I guess. But other than that, anyway, I hope y'all are having a great, great time. Hope y'all are enjoying your Christmas holiday and or what Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, New Year's, whatever holiday you like to celebrate. I hope you're having a good holiday season and enjoying your kids and laughing. I hope you're doing lots of laughing. I hope you're doing lots of baking goodies and just being together. Holidays are Christmas. My family loves Christmas. My mama, it's my few times in the holidays that I really get to spend time with my mom, and I love every minute of it. But anyway, so y'all have a great night. I will see you soon. Let me know what you want to talk about next Tuesday. I will work on it. This one was a hard one. It is really hard to help to even think how to set realistic expectations. It is such a wide topic, but I hope I gave you a little bit to think about. But anyway, we will talk soon. Let me know what to talk about next week. I know y'all think I repeat things over and over again, but that's just me. See y'all next week. Bye, guys.